Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very sparky, funny, you just don't know. I can't wait to get her story out. Can you go ahead and tell the people your name and where you're calling from?
Yes, hello everyone. It's Anita Parker here from the beautiful Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada.
Wow, I didn't know you were there. It's amazing, the connection. So I just want to dig right into it. Tell me about your past leading up into your present.
Yes. Okay. Well, I would say I always like to bring it back to the age of 5 when I started my entrepreneurship without me even knowing. And my mom was a single mom, raised 3 kids on her own. And we would go to work every single Saturday with her on the farm. And I made sure I was the youngest of 3, 2 older brothers, that I would always make the most money in our family household to help provide for our family. In those years, um, there was, I guess, almost 6 years that I went through childhood abuse. And that for me, although no one ever wishes that upon themselves or anyone else, in a lot of ways, it was a gift because I was able to end generational trauma that was happening within our family household. Now, through those years and then leading up to my teens, the teen years were very much burying, pushing down the trauma because when things like that happen to you as a young child, you don't actually fully register if you made that up or it actually happened. And so that led me down a spiral of drinking, drugs, finding love in the wrong places. And when I was 25, I actually had a car accident, 4-car pileup that I was in. And that for me was the divine intervention. Now, I didn't know at the time that that car accident would be pivotal for ending that generational trauma because what happened was I started digging deep into getting help, working with a psychologist. And really, what I was in those appointments for was not the car accident, it was to go heal and forgive, the younger Anita. And most importantly, I had an opportunity to confront my abuser, which most victims don't do. And I did. And in that conversation that we had, you know, there was a huge understanding and forgiveness and love. And again, that may sound strange, but the thing was, is that person that was doing that to me, the same thing was happening to them. And so in that moment, the understanding and the compassion that I had for them, and we were young and didn't understand, and we stopped it right there in its tracks. And from there, it just became a deeper of like having respect, not only for myself, reclaiming myself as an individual. It was like, how do I navigate forward in my life, and have healthy relationships? Because at that point, I married young, and I was already going through my first divorce. So, and I laugh only because, you know, it's almost an understanding of we change so much from decade to decade that I was obviously not ready to get married at that age. So navigating through that and doing a lot of healing and working with a lot of holistic practitioners, etc., helped me navigate through.
Tell me about the holistic doctors. What they help you with? Yeah.
Yeah. So the one lady that I worked with, she was also a homeopath. And I also worked with someone that did Reiki. And so there was a lot of release of, with Reiki, you're shifting energy, releasing energy. So that's exactly what was happening, is those memories that were embedded in my body, especially in muscle tissue where people do bury emotion. There was a lot of release in that. And then with the homeopath, it was a lot of work, not just with different tinctures and remedies, but a lot of emotional work, to which she actually introduced me to Wayne Dyer, who was the godfather of motivation. He was a brilliant author. And I remember diving into his work going, I'm going to meet this man one day and thank him for saving my life. And 3 years later, I met him and he brought me up on a stage at a Hay House convention. It was insane. Like, I am a manifesting generator, 100%. And I got to spend that time and chat with him up on the stage and thanked him in front of, thousands of people for his impact on my life.
Wow, well said, by the way. Can you tell me about, how do you see personal development?
Yeah, there's a lot of avenues to personal development. There's a spiritual side, a physical side, a mental side. And for me, personal development is to have all three of those pieces together. I think a lot of times, I can tell you, even for myself, with past issues with eating disorders and things like that. We, and it makes sense from all the trauma. We think we need to lose weight, but actually, for me, my realization was I needed to lose emotions that were negative, trauma that was negative. Yeah, that's actually what it was about. I was literally harboring and festering all that trauma physically on my body. And so when I
Do
think,
you agree? Do you agree it can do harm if it gets stuck in there? That emotion, it can do colon cancer, health issues. Tell me about that.
1000%, every ailment is linked to an emotional piece that needs healing in life. I believe that deeply. I know for some people they call that woohoo, and it's not, it's the reality. For literally 40 plus years, I've had a shoulder. Well, I would say during my hygiene career, so that might be a little bit of an exaggeration. I would say for 20 years, I had a shoulder issue. And when I went to see a homeopath here in my home town now, they're like, that is actually linked to you, like, not dealing with an area in your life. I'm like, I know what the area is. Let's go clean that stuff up. And
Wow.
so there was a lot of releasing, not just with her, but for me, it was, here's the emotional piece. It was a lot of journaling. Again, it was Anita reclaiming a piece of her that she lost, because not only did I go through childhood abuse, I had a best friend's brother who actually sexually assaulted me. I went different pieces. One thing that I've never shared is, like, I've terminated a pregnancy, and for the longest time, I thought I was, like, in the back of my head, oh my God, I'm capable of murdering someone. And to carry that for multiple decades
Yeah.
is insane. And when I finally healed that piece of me, that was the last puzzle piece. This shoulder is like the best it's ever been. And it was like, and I got to go back and, like, literally reclaim that piece of Anita and bring her back into my body, because she was lost for so long.
Well said, Miss Parker. Okay, so tell me, where do you speak?
So I speak in different places. So currently, I am involved with an incredible organization called Wine Women Wellbeing. And it was founded here in Canada, in Calgary, Alberta. And there's 30 branches from coast to coast. And so I run two of those 30 branches here in my hometown, Kelowna. And I also run the branch up in Fort McMurray, Alberta, which is very northern Alberta. And so I really create these events with other exceptional women. So I speak at them, I empower, elevate. However, I bring in collaboration, community, connection, belonging, so that women can see that there's space for all of us to come together to not only enrich each other, but to create community impact. So there's always a charity, nonprofit at each of these events that I bring in, so that we collectively can raise thousands of dollars to throw back into our community to help it grow, which creates that beautiful ripple effect. And I've
Well,
also spoken recently at UCLA. So
you,
that was,
so you went to California?
I did. I was just in California a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to be heading out to the UK to speak at Cambridge. So I'm very excited and very passionate of just being a stand for individuals so that they can see or borrow the belief, if they don't see it yet, of someone else, that their past does not have to create their future.
Okay. Okay. And tell me, how did you get started? Like you said, somebody mentored you into doing it and he interviewed you.
So, are we talking about UCLA, or are we talking about me speaking in general?
My apologies. Like when you first started speaking.
Yeah.
And
So, here's how this came about. My, it's funny because in my 30s, I had these
hold
early.
up. Sorry. Y'all
Yeah,
have to know. How old are you, Miss Parker?
I am going to be 49 this year. So, I'm currently
Woo!
49.
Oh my God, you look good for your age. Go
Thank
ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, yeah, in my early 30s, I really had this vision literally of me being on stage, helping, empowering, elevating people. I just didn't know how it was going to happen. And in 2020, when the whole world shut down, I started an online health and wellness business. And it became a vehicle for me to help others create the success that I had created. And during that, and working with this company, there was a lot of personal development. So I quickly rose up high in that company to a VP status. And I took it really seriously. I'm like, I hear you. You are showing me this is like, and I knew it was only a vehicle, that this is where I'm supposed to be. Because what happened is I started training people, across the country, into the US, overseas. And I was just like, I had to like get more mentoring in this. So I had a dear friend, or I still have a dear friend, who became a mentor. And I started doing all of her leadership development, coaching programs, etc. So that not only was I enriching and nourishing myself, I was putting that outwards towards a team that I was creating across the country and into the US. And so that was the beginning. And during all of that, I was like, the awareness of being socially responsible, not only empowering and leading others, but being socially responsible became a big eye opener for me, that my voice does matter, that my voice can have impact. And so that was for me the stepping stone. And then 2 years later, I found myself in a room. Someone told me I had to go to this event. And I went to the event, which was the Wine Women Wellbeing event. Caitlin Bristow was the keynote speaker. She's a Canadian, but lives in the US now. She's been on The Bachelorette and Dancing with the Stars. And yeah, and I just remember watching these women share their stories and going, oh my gosh, like tears down my eyes. I'm like, voice matters, voice can be heard. And I slid into the DMs of the CEO founder of Wine Women Wellbeing, and I told her why I would be a great candidate to run a branch. And that moment has forever changed my life. And it's just continued to open doors. And that's the thing, is that when you do your healing, when you do your nourishing, when you put in the time, the effort to work and to work hard, I'm not saying buy into the hustle culture, because I did that and it ripped me apart, but it was part of my journey. It's the doors open. Like when something happens, I'm just grateful. I'm like, thank you. Thank you for showing me again that the doors open, that there's a seat at the table, that collectively I can impact and do the work that I'm here to do. Like I was put on this earth to be of service, and I don't take that lightly.
Where do you see yourself going? Like, do you see yourself going into politics, or where do you see yourself growing with the coaching? How do you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I never would have considered politics in the past, but I feel this light nudge,
Yes. Yes.
which is interesting. Now, what I am doing with the coaching is, here's the thing: when our world forever changed in 2020, corporate changed drastically, as we all know. And the thing is people want heart-led leaders. People are not looking for vertical relationships. People want that horizontal relationship where everyone's like right here. No one
Okay.
wants to be talked down to. No one wants to be like, people want to be valued. People, not that people shouldn't be told, hey, listen, we really need to find a solution to this. Um, in a respectful, empowering way. So I feel like there's a big calling for me to work with corporate, which is exciting, and giving them the pillars to not only have a successful business, to be a heart led leader. Greater things happen that way. They can navigate through things in a more efficient and successful manner. And I don't just mean success in a monetary way, I mean success in all ways. In morals and values and beliefs, etc. And so that's where I see it. And yeah, I do feel that nudge. I feel like I now know, I feel like the politics thing is probably going to come at some point here, and I'll just wait for
Yeah, I think you should be the next prime minister or something.
it.
Isn't that the president? The president of Canada is the
That's
prime minister.
great. Well
Okay, yeah.
done.
You're
Well,
very smart.
I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me see. So let me look. So tell me about you, like being a coach. Like, who have you coached?
I have coached a lot of people in business wise, how to, I would say more business than personal. I've done personal coaching. The thing is that a lot of women come to me for coaching because they want help in their business, how to navigate, not just only like how to set up a business successfully. There's a lot of the mental piece of, how do I, one, start up a business, or I've been in business but I'm on a hamster wheel, or I'm in a business and I don't have the right people on board. I don't even know what the right people look like. So things like that. And of course, business plans, business models, things like, I don't do the business plans. I actually have my husband that does that. That's his area of expertise. But I help develop that program, really to navigate through whatever their needs may be. But yeah, it's typically women that do come to me, and I love that because I get to empower another woman and show her belief that, I give her my eyeballs so she can see what I can see, and the potential that she has to move forward.
Well, I wanted to know, like, if you do that, then how do you maintain, like, because you're pretty busy. You coach, you mentor, you speak at events. How do and you have a husband and you probably have kids too. So
Yeah.
how do you juggle that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I didn't juggle it well for some time because I also have other businesses that I have as well, in the restaurant industry. And so I really had to, when I was falling apart from that hustle culture, I really had to take a step back and be like, how can I best be of service? And what do I need to let go of to make room for what I truly am meant here to do? And so there was some hard decisions to make, of like letting go of businesses, closing them. You know, those are not fun decisions to make. And I will tell you this, in the past, Anita would have saw that as a failure. Today, I see it as a blessing
Yeah.
because it doesn't, the most successful people are usually people that have what they say failed, which I don't, have had really huge boulders to drop, like jump over. And so I see those choices as where I had to navigate through to get to where I am today. So I see them as gifts. I will always see them as gifts because I know it's literally me emotionally, physically, spiritually pushing out the things that are holding me back to be of service, to be of impact, to bring those humans along. So, how do I do it? I make sure I make time every morning when I get up. I am meditating, I am doing my prayers. I'm making sure I get my movement in, and I am nourishing and respecting my body with food, which is, and water, of course, which is like, those are important things to do for oneself, because we always think something else like answering an email or something in the DMs is more important. And I've been that person. And when I notice me doing it, I'm like, actually, stop right now, because it's just going to pull me further away from being integral to my emotional, physical, and spiritual self. And I'm not interested in doing that anymore.
Understood. And I know we just talked about briefly politics, but my mind, a light bulb came on, and I was just wanting to dig a little bit more. Like when you talk about politics in the Canadian sense of form, do you mean corporate world as in the government, or corporate world as in just regular corporate?
Yeah, great question. Corporate business is what I'm talking about.
Okay. What do you
Yeah,
want to do in that spectrum?
I really want to go in, and I think it's really give people hope and possibility of how things can be. Even teaching those leaders that they can be, because a lot of these leaders that are in that vertical relationship with their employees, their teams, is because there is a really a misfire on how they are
Yeah.
leading their humans. And so for me, I want to literally go in and show them how to unlearn and relearn a new way of being, a really impactful, powerful, heart led leader. That to me is exciting. And I've been in that situation. So I know what it's like to be a part of something so incredible and having an exceptional human leading the charge, right? Because then people just want to rally, right? They buy into that culture because it's real, because it is authentic, integral. Most humans want that in their lives. I don't think anyone wakes up and says, I want to live unintegral, unauthentic. Like, no one wakes up like that. Most people are waking up, right now, of like, okay, today's a new day. How am I going to navigate? I really want to do this at some point. When will that time be? When can I do this? When can I, like, you can do it now. And this is the thing that I teach people, because when you make that decision, right? We've all made that big decision, whether it's personal or professionally, you will do whatever it takes to achieve that. So people will often, in a lot of other interviews, people will ask me about business stuff. And it's like, how did you create the success? It's like, because I decided and I believed in myself. So imagine having not only a leader, but a team of humans doing that together and
Yeah.
changing that narrative. That's next level.
Wow. I can't believe that. Like, how many podcasts you've been on, by the way?
I've probably been on 7 podcasts.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah,
Have you been mentioned in the paper yet? Yet.
yes. I've been in a couple press releases. I have a really big event that I'm holding this Thursday. And this is a tour that will go across the country. And we're kicking it off here in my hometown. And so I've been in the press a couple times for news release, on the radio.
Tell
Uh,
me about the radio. The radio. I gotta know.
the old school radio. And I've also been on television for an interview with TELUS, which is a big TV company, media outlet here in Canada.
I am proud of you. Tell me about the TV. What did they ask you? How did it go? How did you feel? I'm pretty sure you're not shy because you do coaching and speaking. So yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, it was honestly, and that's a great little point there, because a lot of people are like, aren't you nervous? Aren't you scared? And I'm like, when you speak your truth, there's no fear in that. When you've done the work, you speak from your heart, and it just comes organically. So it was the interview with Telus Story Hive was really such a cool moment, because I did speak about wine women well-being. And the funny thing is the the events have nothing to do with wine. It's just when that founder created this business, it was just the season in her life. It's funny because I don't actually really drink because I just don't care to. It's, yeah, my body just says, actually, this isn't really for you. And so in that interview, it was just really sharing one, the birth of this brand and what we do across the country to really bring humans together to show them that we can stand together no matter where you come from, and we can create exceptional things together. So that interview was, it was a lot of fun. I quite enjoyed it, and it just felt, I've rewatched it a couple of months ago, and I was like, such a sense of freedom, a sense of knowing, a sense of a safe space. And that's, these events are really about creating that safe space. And it's really cool because men love to come to these events too, because they're like, hey, I love what you're doing. How do I get aligned with this? And I'm like, I'm actually here to empower humans. I am in this vehicle to empower women, and men are also welcome. So at this big event, we have, we do have speakers coming. We have really cool activations that are happening during the event. So we actually have a team of 3 gentlemen coming from the clinic that I go to for chiro, massage, and physio. And they're coming to do some hands on muscle release, which will be really cool. So I will never say no to humans who are integral, exceptional, and want to make a difference. So I welcome everyone.
You know, I like the way you speak. You know, I just keep hearing the word humans. That's a key word to me. And I'm like, okay, you don't look like an alien. So I'm like, who is Anita Parker? But I'm listening. So tell me, I have a question for you. I had 4 businesses. I want your advice on something. 4 businesses: Blue Cloud Cleaning, Genuinely Michelle Wiggs, Wigs for Success, and obviously the Kimberly Cloud Show. And what I did was, my strategy was, I put things on the back burner and I turned it one on medium, one on high, one on low, or one just turned off. It didn't work. It didn't work. I didn't have the right support system, and things were going bad for me at that time. Tell me, if you had, how many businesses do you have, and how do you manage to take the time as a human to juggle those?
What a great question. So you and I have sat in the same chair clearly. At one time, I had 5 businesses.
Mhm.
And yeah, and here's the thing, in the moment, for me, and I'd be real transparent, and I always will be, is that I had to prove to myself at that point that I could do the things. And so, with that, let's be honest, that's a little ego. I can call myself out on that stuff. And the thing with ego is that, I don't know if you've ever heard this saying, the acronym for ego is edging God out. And right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, that's exactly what was happening. I was at the time not being able to really fire all the cylinders and be my best version of me in each of those businesses. I was falling short, and then I was talking to myself, even if it wasn't out loud, in my head, talking to myself. And you're feeding that your subconscious garbage when you are talking about how you're doing a crappy job. And I just wasn't willing to do that anymore. And so for me, as I mentioned earlier, I had to let go. And I was literally letting go of one thing at a time. And there, each time I let go of it, there was a freedom, or I put others in charge and put them in the leadership roles. That's the other piece, because and I have a business where I don't have the right leader. And the thing is that you can't create success when you don't have the right person. And I feel that it's hard nowadays to find the right person in this specific industry anyway. It's hospitality. And it's hard to find the right leaders who are as ambitious or that have the drive to create the success. And when you are in a position where you've got all these businesses, and of course, we start business to create success, and you don't have the right people, it's not a fun journey. And that is the thing. It's like you have to make those hard decisions. If I can't find the right person, do I sell this? Do I close this? And so, a couple months ago, there was a business that we actually ended up shutting down because we were bleeding from it. And it was like, I actually wasn't like, oh no, like this is embarrassing. What will people think? I actually was like, this is necessary. This is important for the health and well being of myself and my family. And it felt so good to close those doors. Of course, we always want best case scenario. We can sell it, we can move on. And that just wasn't the case with this. And I was really at peace. In the past, Anita would have been like, oh my God, what are people going to say? What are people going to think? And I think that was the one thing in 2020 is that people stopped caring about what other people would think of them if they tried something new. Because a lot of people did try new stuff. They went on to online businesses. They used their social media platforms to create success. It's what I did. My success is from my Instagram. Literally, because I showed up boldly as Anita and stopped caring about what might they think about me. Because in the past, I would think, oh, what are they going to think about me? And then, I'm this person, and then they're going to see me doing this. And then when you're putting food on the table and keeping a roof over your head, you no longer, I'm not saying don't be a compassionate, loving human being, 1000%. And I am that person. And I have to think what's best for me and my family. Like we have 4 kids and they're 17 to 27. And the thing is that their eyeballs have been watching us for a long time. And I'm responsible for showing them how to show up in life. So if I show up as a meek, oh, what might they say? Like nonsense like that is because that's what it is. It's nonsense and show them. Like when I was 45, I went back and finished my degree. It was just something I wanted to check off. I was at the table with my kids doing homework, so you just really have to show up and be bold and be you and know when to cut the ties. And if you can cut the ties in a way that, you don't have to, from a business perspective, have to lose money. I mean, that's just an absolute gift. If you have to cut ties and there's a loss, there's a loss. You learn from it. It is your new wisdom and knowledge to go further along the road.
Thank you. And I have 2 other questions before more. I just wanted to talk about the limited partnership. Is that what you had with the one that you had a limited partnership with the partner that's not doing his or her job, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, exactly. So, and the thing is that there's a lot of conversations, multiple conversations, the same conversations. And it's just like, I have to actually believe in what you're showing me. And so this is no longer on them. When someone keeps showing you who they are and they're not willing to do the work and move forward, they've showed me. And I have to open my eyes and my ears to that. So for me, it's not like, hey, my God, like, why can't you just this and why can't that's irrelevant. The thing is their capacity is here. Even though you want them here, they're here and they're showing that. And so that's, working with them on that angle and respecting that. If you can't find someone else is just the way it is. And having businesses in a different province is tricky. I mean, we've been doing it for years. My husband's been doing it for 3 decades. I've been doing it within the last 8 years, and it's tricky because you really have to have the key people involved.
Well said. And tell me, we're going to dig into spirituality, Miss Parker. How is your spirituality?
I mean, I really do believe that, from a spiritual perspective, I have to feed that, love that, embrace that, be open to that. And so for me, I will say at a young age, I used to really kind of get scared because there was like, I just have always had really good intuition and foresight on things. A lot of times I would see things ahead of when they would actually happen. And that stuff kind of freaked me out. And so I would bury that like, "Ooh, you're weird. Don't do, I'm not saying I'm a psychic, but I am very much intuitive and can sense and feel a
Are
lot
you
of things.
clairvoyant?
In certain things for
Tell
others,
me,
yes.
tell
Not
the truth.
Yeah, I am telling oh, yeah, I'm telling the truth. So what I'm saying is not really for myself as much, but more for others.
Oh, wow. That's even a better gift.
So I can see that. I mean, I can see in like when I dream, I do see a lot of things where I end up being, which is really cool. Places I'll visit ahead of time, and then show up there and be like, oh my gosh, I had this brilliant dream about this place. So that happens. So, I mean, I'm not a practicing clairvoyant, but I have been gifted
I believe
in
it.
my life, and it came to me at a very young age of seeing and feeling things, especially for others, very deeply. And so now I embrace it.
Have you ever thought that you probably is kind of angelic because there's angels on this earth and you don't have to answer that
I'll
if it
answer it.
okay, great, great, great.
I will answer that. So I love that you use the word angel. So I have massive angel's wings tattooed on my back. People always find it, they're like, you have tattoos? I'm like, yeah, do I have to be a certain way to have tattoos? Because they see me as a business professional. So when they find out I have these massive angel wings on my back, they're like, whoa. I'm like, yes, because I have literally been protected by the angels my whole life through. So the answer is yes. And whenever I'm flying, I always call on the archangels to be with me on my flights. And so I believe very deeply in that.
Well said. Before we go any further, I have to tell you a quick story in another minute. So what happened to me was I was at a shelter and there was this young lady and people were talking about area 51, area this, and then all of a sudden she was telling me about things and all of a sudden she pulled up her back. She wanted to tell me so much and she taught me so much. She pulled her back shirt off her back and there were angel wings.
Wow.
Yeah, and like it was weird stuff going on in my life. So I appreciate you telling me that. That's a powerful story, man. And I believe that you're angelic. I can tell by the way you talk, the way you carry yourself. I believe it. So tell me an instance where something happened that you predicted it that with someone and that it actually happened. Or I hope I worded that right.
Yeah, I can tell you.
Whatever you want to.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of, I'm like going through my Rolodex of things that have happened. It's mostly so my best friend, oh gosh, quite a few years ago, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And she had 3 young kids. And I was literally at the hospital the weekend before. Her and I and two other friends were actually in Whistler, BC for a big yoga retreat. And we came back and she wasn't feeling well and she ended up going to the hospital. And so she had, stage 4 vaginal cancer. She had some markers in her lungs. And literally every day showing up at the hospital to be with her going through all this stuff. And I remember being there in those moments. Of course, it's always when it's someone you love deeply and you're watching them walk through it. I knew that she was going to walk through it. I just, even though, and here's the other thing is that the doctors here in Canada, it was just before, I think it was like December 30th. I was actually in California at a Lakers game with my kids and husband, and I got a call from my girlfriend, one of our mutual friends of my best friend, saying, "Hey, the doctors here have said like to tell her to go home and sort her affairs." And I was like, I don't believe it. And so what leaded down the road was her husband ended up finding an amazing hospital in the US in Phoenix. And they literally, like, she's been cancer free for over 5 years now. So, and you hear stories of it like this all the time, but I always knew she was going to make it. I didn't subscribe to her life being over. So did I have this moment where, I saw, the hospital, the thing? I trusted because of my belief and my faith. I trusted that her time here on the earth, like I just saw clearly the future of being together. Not to say I didn't go through my moments of like, why is this happening? And I want this to go away for her and her family. It was like, it's going to happen. And here's the thing is trusting in divine timing. And I do believe in trusting in that and being patient. I will definitely say there was years and seasons in my life where I was just like, let it happen, speed it up. Let's do this,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that was kind of the beginning of me really trusting my intuition. There's many times where I will literally show up to places. I was traveling through Italy this past summer and seeing places, and it was like I will see like that foreshadowing of places I will be going, because I know I'm going to be stepping my feet on many soils around the world. And and it's happening, going to the UK and speaking and so on and so forth. So I know deeply that I was working with a spiritual healer, and he was saying to me, this year is your building year. And he's saying, the spirits are showing me all these blocks. I'm like, you're right, it is. And he mentioned April, which is now. He said something big's happening. A lot of big things are happening. This is going to be the changing point for you for 2025 to help heal men, women, and children. And I'm like, I know this. I've always known this deeply. And I feel like I've been giving these cars. And that's why I say vehicle a lot, because I have seen the different cars. So I might not see exact events, but I'll see pieces of what shows me to get me to that stage to help heal, empower, and create impact.
Well said. Do you believe in telekinesis? I was asking my last client that, and he's an engineer, and he said he does. He said, "Do we see the air?" I said no. He said, "But it's there." So, what is your input on telekinesis?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with like, again, I'm my faith. It's like, do you believe in God? Well, for me, yes, I was raised Christian. I've
Yeah.
never seen God. Yeah, I'm a Christian, so it was like I believe that like you said, there's angels on this earth. I do believe in God. I believe in the universe, the Holy Spirit, like all of it, because the at the end of the day, there are many ways to get to that one same point. So that's why when people ask me about like, well, what is your faith? Sorry, I know I'm switching the topic a little bit. It's like, well, I believe it's all encompassing. Buddha, God, the universe. Even though I was raised a Christian, I believe it all works together for the greater good.
Yes. Well said. And where do you teach your children your values and everything? How do you do it? Like you go to church, or how does it?
What a great question you're asking, because I was really hard on myself for a long time because I was raised, my brothers and I were raised Catholic. We're Italian. Both my parents are immigrants. So the Catholic Church, I love that I was raised with Christianity because I think it made me the person I am today. And so when we moved, I'm originally from the Toronto area. And when we moved across the country 18 years ago, things are different here. You have to pay for education here for Catholic school. You have to, like, there's a lot of different things. And it was like at that time, moving with, literally a 20-month-old and a 8 months pregnant with this, with another one. It was just like, we don't have those kinds of finances, but we would take the kids to church every Sunday, like right from when they were babies. And I would say in the last X amount of years, there's been this guilt that hasn't been upholded probably in the last solid 5 years. And the thing is that I I don't want to have that guilt anymore,
Yeah.
because I know that I gave them many years of going to church. They know my beliefs. They know it's what I've shared with them. And so I have to trust that they're going to make, you know, healthy, positive decisions. They're going to make mistakes. Listen, we all make mistakes or choices.
Yeah.
And I hope it's based on being a good Christian human. Now, I mean, hey, there's good and bad in every culture, race, religion, etc. The thing is if you create those foundational pieces for your loved ones, then just like my mom, she had to let us fly, and we're going to have to go through life and figure it out. So we don't go to church anymore, but and I shouldn't say but and it's okay because we have our faith still.
Well said. And tell me about I'm glad that you're doing this, by the way. I'm not just saying well said and moving on. Tell me about, okay, you sat up there, you were abused as a child, and you kept it in, and it was emotional baggage holding you. Then you got into Reiki homeopathic stuff. Now, what was the turning point where you started losing your baggage?
Mm, I
See what
think, yeah, I do see what you're saying. I would say from that piece, I started losing that baggage and that physically that way when I was doing the work, and then had that conversation with, the individual that was abusing me. That for me was like a huge unloading, like massive. And
do you feel there was demons out to get you? I mean, like there's good and bad in every family, and sometimes you have demonic things happen, and then your husband, abusing you either verbally or physically. You're light. You're the light. Of your area. You're an angel to me, and I feel like angels attract negativity because they see the light in you. Does that make sense?
oh, I couldn't agree with you more. And the thing is that yes, I do believe that uh, there are definitely demons out there for sure, and they want to dim the light. And I've been in a relationship with the kid's dad, and it was verbally um, abusive. It wasn't a healthy relationship. It didn't start out that way. And it was literally preparing me for where I am today. Like, even now, I had a situation come up with work, and someone came at me, and I was like, they're coming at me because I'm on the right track and it's triggering them. It actually has nothing to do with me, because I know my truth. I know what I'm a stand for, and I can sense when something's not right, and I won't align myself with that. Like, I just won't. So yes, I do believe that there are those demons out there, and I feel like I have been equipped spiritually, emotionally, not that it's not taxing when you're going through those things, to deal with those things. And it's really a reminder of like, hey, you actually need to work out this muscle a little bit harder so you can become stronger and go further. Like,
Yeah.
that's the analogy that plays in my head when those kinds of humans show up. And we see them sometimes at the grocery store, and we see them, at the gym or yoga or wherever it might be, or the airport. And I got to tell you this story. It just came to me. We were in LA when I was speaking at UCLA, and the people in LA literally so nice. Like everyone. And my husband's like, you are the only person I know that could have a friendly conversation, say hi to someone with this huge smile on their face, and they're holding a chainsaw because there was someone grooming it. He's like, do you understand like the gift that you have to just undo things? Like most people would be like, like I'm gonna keep like walking, don't look, don't make eye contact. And I'm like, eye contact, how's your day? How are you? Like he's like, that is, I don't think I've ever witnessed anything like that. And I said, I didn't even really notice it until you said it because I'm just showing up as Anita Parker, right? The woman that my mother raised.
Well,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God. And lastly, tell me about, before we exit this, tell me about UCLA. How many people heard you speak and what did you talk about?
Yeah. So I shared about my story. I shared about my story of like where you basically where you come does not dictate where you are going. So I shared my story. And I'm just trying to think how many people were in the room. It was in one of the classrooms there. There was probably about 20 plus people. I ended up getting an interview with Easy Way, and which is going to be on Roku, which is really cool. And right? So that was amazing. And I don't know if you know who David Austin Green is. He was married to Megan Fox. He
Oh, really? Oh my God.
he was also speaking that day, and he spoke after me, and my husband's like, how is he going to follow that? And my
Oh,
husband my
how
husband
many people reach you?
honest,
I,
like,
I, I have to cut you off because we have 3 minutes, but
okay,
how can the people reach you? It
yes,
was lovely.
no worries. They can reach me on Instagram at Anita Best Life. They can also reach me on my website at www.anitaparker.ca.
Do you have any words of wisdom in under 30 seconds?
In under 30 seconds, I would say know and believe in who you are. And if you don't have that in you yet, please surround yourself with humans that see that greatness in you and borrow the belief of those exceptional humans.
Thank you, Miss Anita Parker. You take care and stay on the line for a second. I have to talk to you. Y'all take care, man. Miss Anita Parker, give her a round of applause, man. Like, if you're out there, this is a beautiful, angelic woman that done been through stuff and overcame her challenges. So she deserves recognition. So hold on for a second.